Hey everybody, Alex here. This is an introduction video on steam therapy. Steam therapy is really popular nowadays. I'd say it's actually a little bit more popular than infrared saunas, probably just because it can sometimes be a little bit more reasonable in terms of price point. But also, a lot of people are using it because they're able to simply modify their existing shower, bathtub. And so when you'll see on this website, talking about steam generator is the term for the main piece of equipment that essentially will go under your cabinet next to your shower, or sometimes people put in their attic above the shower. It's generally going to go around that type of area. And essentially it's a steam unit. It creates steam, usually through boiling water, and has a heating element inside. So that steam is then going to go through your shower. So you do need to have a plumber rig it all up first off, and then have a contractor do a little bit of modification if necessary to your shower. And then of course, depending on the materials that you have in that shower, you're going to basically get some advice and consultation from myself, my associate Eric, as far as what type of steam generator is going to go with that particular material. In some cases, you have to change your whole material or change out your whole shower inlay to a material that's not going to be affected adversely. Sometimes that happens, but in general, it's a conversion kit is what we're talking about here that's so popular. And I would point out something very important here, that more people are basically doing conversions of their existing bathtub area because it's a little less costly. And there is another option you'll see if you do a little Googling around. You'll see steam shower, that term, and then you'll see like a freestanding unit that shows like a shower with some additional nozzles. It just looks like an encased freestanding prefabricated unit. That's definitely something you don't want. So there's not a lot of people telling you out there that you don't want to get those. So I'm happy to share that information with you. In general, a lot of them, regardless of the brand, have issues with leaking, cracking. That's part of the reason that people are generally looking to convert their existing units. Is those prefab units are just, they're complicated. Things tend to go wrong with them. It's very hard to really buy those and figure out which ones to get. I don't even advise going that way. It's more hassle than it's worth, and you really don't want to take a chance when you're dealing with water. I mean, water can cause all sorts of damage, as you can imagine, so you want to get it right and have something a little bit less complicated. So you usually think the opposite, right? If you just get a whole freestanding unit, everything's done perfectly, you just install it in there, it's nice and simple. It's actually the opposite. It's actually better to pull all the equipment and pieces together and actually convert over your unit. I've gone into a lot of detail with my review analysis of different brands out there. I go as far as checking humidity levels, how fast it takes to fill a space to reach a certain temperature. I've done studies with decibel levels, how loud each of these generators are. Sometimes the steam head coming out of a specific brand is a lot louder, and you just want something really quiet so you can meditate and just fully relax or listen to music in there and not have it interfere with that. These are some of the main points to look at. I also look at what they call steam dryness fraction. This is an industry term that has to do with basically how big the water droplets are. It's partially true. How much water essentially is saturating, or how much air is actually present in the water, so how dry it is. You have a really dry steam, and then you can have a steam that's really, really wet. If you go to like a commercial gym or place like that, in general they have not the best settings. There's just a lot that's not so great about those steam rooms, and generally you always find extremely wet steam in those, and you can usually see just water dripping everywhere. You can see the steam rising all over the place. What you may not realize is actually a good dry steam unit properly set, you won't actually really see the steam so much. that's a good sign. So yeah, if you've ever been in a steam room in commercial places, unless it was a high-end spa, usually their settings are bogus. They're all wrong. It's just it's usually a very uncomfortable experience, to be honest. So you'd be surprised. A lot of people are thrown off by not wanting the steam room experience because of ones they've used in commercial settings, but really the ones that you would install and convert your shower to, again, so comfortable that you wouldn't even notice there was steam in there until you open the door. You'll definitely feel you can sense the moisture and you can definitely feel the heat, but it should be a lot easier to breathe and just a lot less damp. So yeah, there's kind of the main areas that I've studied different brands on. Now, when we look at the whole industry itself, it's compared to infrared saunas. It's a little bit easier to basically figure out what you need. There's not as many games that are being played. There's a lot of dishonesty, a lot of greed. There's also the industry, the infrared sauna industry is just so saturated with companies importing from these big manufacturers overseas and reselling and making up all sorts of stuff. There's a lot of that going on. In the steam generator industry, there's less companies to evaluate. Many of those companies also manufacture their own generators and equipment, which is good, versus just importing from big manufacturing producers. That's not so much the case with this industry. There's not a lot of resellers or brands. In general, who you'd be getting a generator from is from the company itself that created the equipment. And so that's a good thing. It's a little bit easier to evaluate. So my work was, of course, a lot easier in that regard as well. There still are subtle differences and things you may not know. And so that's kind of where I come in as far as guiding people to, especially around areas of customer service quality, costs of repairs, durability, and also steam quality experience. Again, I've noticed big differences between brands. It's just harder to breathe in there. Some are just really nice. You're relaxing and it's like you're not even in the steam room type of feeling, even though you definitely are. Some maintain their temperature more consistently. Some gain in temperature faster. If you just want to turn it on and jump in there as soon as possible, you're that type of person. Definitely there's some brands that are better for that. Some, if you're just patient, you can program and pop in there 30 minutes later. So there's some subtle differences there that can take a while to actually figure out. And so, yeah, with these generators, I would say that, again, excuse me, my dry eyes could probably benefit from a little steam session later. So, yeah, with these different sorts of brands and companies, a lot of them have been around a while. Again, that's a good thing. It's not unusual to see them, 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, and so on. Been around a while. And so that's good when you actually evaluate these companies. They've stayed consistent. And to stay relevant and to stay in the industry and not go bankrupt like a million infrared sauna companies do. That's good. That means they're stable, good customer service, good quality products. So for the most part, this industry is okay. We can make that general statement versus infrared saunas. Okay, so it's not as risky per se. But there are differences again between brands. So for example, one, if you did a little bit of research, Mr. Steam has a lot of brand awareness. They've been around a while and they just did a lot of marketing. They also have a lot of brand awareness because they really kind of dominated in the commercial sector for a while. And so a lot of people learned about them that way in the commercial setting. The walkaway conclusion is their customer service really started to decline 6-7 years ago. And again, the company's been around a while because they really started to shift more of their focus on caring about the commercial sort of facilities and less about the residential home users, which is not a good thing. And I would say that they did do a changeover and big time in the customer service department, did a big overhaul, hired a lot of new people, fired a lot of people. came out with a lot of just new infrastructure policies. They did improve customer service a lot, but compared to the rest of some of these other brands, they're just one of the largest steam companies. It's the bottom line. And whenever a company gets really large and they still mostly want to cater to a commercial market versus residential, if you get their generator in general, the customer service might be a little slower to respond. Service fees and things like that can sometimes be a little bit higher. They're just not, that's again, residential users are not their main focus anymore, as they were decades ago and more closer to the beginning. So that being said, it is that just one little kind of piece of things, but you can kind of really get a lot more for your money if you want to. Meaning you can get the whole enchilada. There are some other brands that are stronger with customer service. Americ, for example, very strong with customer service. They are just very committed to customer service satisfaction. So we take a look at their warranty and we see, well, it looks more limited. Some of these generator, or companies I should say, appear to have more limited warranties. And while that's true, when we say, okay, well, this one has a lifetime warranty, you always want to read that fine print of a lifetime warranty. And I wish it were as simple as we could just compare this warranty to this warranty, and you can kind of do that, of course. There's some very obvious things like limited, in this way on these specific parts. I mean, that's kind of obvious, right? But what you can't really compare is the type of information that's harder for a consumer to get is how the company is itself, its reputation, customer service experience when backing that warranty, and also even outside the warranty. All warranties, by the way, do have some limitations and exclusions, even lifetime warranties. But you really just kind of have to get more information on the company itself. Americ, while having a not a very limited one, but just having a limited warranty, actually does more within that period of time than most other companies. The limitation of years. They actually offer more support, and it's a lower cost, lower risk. When you look at 5 to 7 years with some of these limited warranties, that's mainly actually when you might have an issue. Statistically, it's very highly skewed within that 5 to 7 year mark, that time frame. So having a limited warranty that covers within those amount of years is actually okay. What you then really want to know is, outside of that warranty, first off, can I get an extended warranty? But second, outside that warranty, what's the customer support experience it's going to be like? What's the average cost? Are there extra costs for servicing and fees? What are those? And also the generator design is another thing I look at. Some of these generators are built to be very easily maintained, repaired with a technician, which is very easy, and the labor costs go down when something's easier to repair and also easier to troubleshoot. So some of these are more complicated, and in general, a couple of manufacturers that build cheaper generators, they're cheaper to build because they've built them just to kind of design it as cheaply as possible and get it out there as cheaply as possible. They're not really designed to be serviced easily, to have parts swapped out easily. That takes extra engineering, extra unique design, customized design, to basically offer something like that. So you do get sometimes what you pay for. That is something that goes in to factoring in costs. Although I'll tell you, once again, with like infrared saunas, you can't necessarily just shop by price. You can't just say, okay, well, this one's very expensive and this one's very cheap, so this very cheap one must be very costly to repair, and because it's just designed very poorly. Yes and no. There are some examples like that, but also some examples that aren't like that, where a brand can be more competitive than one priced higher and superior in what it offers. So again, there's some subtleties that a consumer, it's hard to come by that information, where I kind of step in and I help. So that's something that a lot of people don't know about, is the repair and servicing end of things. First off, you want to know which of these brands or models gets repaired and serviced a lot more commonly. I mean, there's some brands that people have paid for the whole device, like a whole brand new one. It was that costly to keep on repairing and servicing it. So that's something you want to look in. And in general, again, that window is like within the first 5 to 7 years. So that's an important area. There is a couple brands that you can pay a lot more and have a little more of a longer term guarantee and longer warranty. Probably the one that comes to mind mostly is Thermasol in that category. For peace of mind, for something that should last a lot longer and is very much more affordable service. It's just a lot more is covered for longer in a warranty. You do pay more. See, so these companies are smart. They know how often their warranties get utilized. What are the main problems? What other companies are doing? So in that case, you pay a little bit more, but to get more peace of mind, Thermasol in terms of just not getting servicing, but again, you're paying a little bit more. So then you just have to go back to budget. Well, if I spend a little bit less here, in some cases significantly less with this other brand, like a Steam Spa, for example, offers all the same amenities, same quality accessories, just a variety of accessories, same type of features, but it costs a lot less. And yeah, the warranty is not identical, and probably a Thermasol will go a little bit longer without needing repair, but you're spending a lot less. And so a lot of times things even out. In general, it comes down to also what type of spa situation you want. Believe it or not, we can actually get you to the point where you've assessed that the cost, expense analysis, amenities, features, and you've gotten yourself to maybe like 2-3 choices. A lot of times, depending on what your preferences are, basically, and what your overall budget is for just having a whole sort of spa experience, you can kind of just make a decision based on things like accessories. If you like a control panel more of these things that aren't so much about the hardcore equipment itself, the engineering, the quality, the components, the therapeutic efficacy. A lot of times with steam generators, if we do things right, we get yourself to the point where you're making a decision more about aesthetics sometimes, or this one came with these neat accessories that you want to complete your whole spa experience. So that's unique. In the infrared sauna industry, it's more, we'll have to eliminate so many choices because a lot of them don't have a lot of therapeutic efficacy. They're not safe. It's just more complicated. So perfect example. So yeah, with like a Steam Spa brand, they in general have a lot more accessories, a lot more amenities than like a Steam Mist. So if you're really looking to have more features that you might see in terms of how you control the steam, maintenance of temperature, just all these different types of things that you might see with a higher priced unit, a Steam Spa offers all that with no extra charges. Then we might come over and look at like an Americ, which is charging you for an additional control panel and additional costs for the same feature that was automatically came with the price with like a Steam Spa. So that's why sometimes it really does come down to a conversation about preferences with these. And again, not everybody needs to necessarily have steam immediately, or when they just turn on the device that they can just hop in immediately. Although it is possible. And again, some companies will maybe charge you for that feature, some won't. So yeah, if you have any more questions about kind of just the different unit options, there's also other important things we have to evaluate, like what kind of hardness of water is coming in your place, the size of your shower, all those kind of technicalities which shape recommendations and preferences. That conversation we can easily go over the phone, and really to make a decision with this type of thing, since again we're dealing with water, which can cause a lot of damage if the whole setup isn't correct. We have to get every detail right, in order to make sure we recommend the exact correct unit for what exactly you need. That is a big difference with like infrared saunas. You can put an infrared sauna in your place and it's not going to necessarily, well, some cheaper brands out there for sure have a lot of fire hazard risk. But in general, yeah, when you're dealing with water and steam, you just really want to make sure you get things correct because it can cause a lot of expensive damage if it's not correct. But go over that over the phone. Just simply fill out an email response form and, just kind of like the basics of, what type of health conditions you might have, what are your health goals. That can sometimes shape preferences on the quality of steam, temperature settings, subtle things like that. I get into a little bit more detail. And then you can also try to give me a call. If you don't reach me, leave me a voicemail. I just mentioned that you're trying to figure out the whole steam setting thing. And then keep in mind that once you have your steam spa set up, there are some additional things you can do to make it more therapeutic, basically. Of course, depending, you got to talk to your doctor first for a couple of these things. I also have a doctor on staff or an associate of mine who can also consult with you over the phone, but you can do what's called exercise with oxygen therapy. So do a little Googling on that. But essentially you raise your heart rate and your circulation, your metabolic rate through steam, and then you take advantage of that shift. This is just like similar to some responses with exercise, same sort of changes in the body. You then breathe in concentrated oxygen through an oxygen concentrator. And this is tremendous for the body, extremely healthy. A lot of studies going back decades on it. This is something you can kind of supercharge, if you will, and get a lot more health benefits out of your home spa experience. There's some very expensive equipment out there that does the same thing or similar. So there's a little bit more of an affordable track to getting some of these benefits, if you will. And there are also some other things where you can do to increase your circulation. Taking some cayenne tea, taking a niacin flush. Niacin is vitamin B3. Before going in. Also really stimulating your lymphatic system. As you know, I consult on whole body vibration machines. Fantastic exercise, fantastic for your lymphatic system. So you want to focus on optimizing your lymphatic system, getting it moving, maybe doing a little bit of exercise, certain types of movements before using the steam. So you do a few things beforehand, and you have a much better experience then. So those are a few different other tips, kind of. So you can always go over that with me after you've set up your your steam spa, if you will, and then you want to take things more to a more therapeutic direction, essentially. Then I can definitely consult with you on that as well, myself or Eric. Eric is kind of a little bit of an expert in some of these categories, and definitely an expert when it comes to steam generators. He's worked with every single company out there, hands-on, and knows each brand inside and out. So either him or myself will be able to kind of go into a lot of detail. And we'd be happy to, because honestly, on the internet, if you've done some research, tried to figure out the whole steam generator thing, steam spa, there's hardly any information out there. If you talk to these different companies, call them up, try to ask them about other brands, they have very strict policies. They just don't talk about competitors at all. They don't. So you really can't get any information about their competitors. Even if you talk about their features per se, they won't actually comment on other companies' features. Again, this is a big difference than infrared saunas, where they'll put down and badmouth, their competitors, or subtly badmouth them. Not directly, but all sorts of covert ways with their marketing content on their websites. So it just ends up leaving the consumer very confused as they see all this conflicting information between brands. At least that doesn't happen as much with really the steam generator industry. But again, if you have any questions, here to help. And that's pretty much it for this video. Sorry I went a little bit long, but kind of just wanted to put it all in a nutshell here, just give you a lot of different thoughts to kind of think about different angles, and that'll kind of help us move forward a lot faster when we end up speaking. Thanks for watching.